Okay, folks, welcome to the moving on phase of our breathing and movements program. You should have completed the fundamentals and the preparation phases before attempting this phase. Enjoy this phase, and you can access this and the other phases by clicking on the links below. This is the first exercise in the moving on phase. It's called stable standing with arm movement. We've focused quite a lot on stable standing. So just remember to keep your head above your shoulders, shoulders above hips, and your feet really firmly anchored to the floor. You're going to keep that stable core, the head, the shoulders, the pelvis, the feet, while you're moving your arms. Simply let your arms float up to the side. Keep them nice and long. Keep your neck long and shoulders down. The arms will meet in the middle. And then still keeping the arms long, bring them back down to your side. Breathing out, the arms float up. You'll feel the shoulder blades move across the back of your ribs. Breathing in, the arms float back down. You'll feel the shoulder blades move back towards the spine. Repeat this 6 times. The next exercise is called leg slides and arm floats. It picks up where the leg slides left off, so we carry on with the leg slides, and we're adding in an arm float as well. We're building up also to the hip hinge, which follows. As we do these exercises, we're focusing on stability in our core. So we want to keep the head, shoulders, and pelvis still, and moving the limbs independently of the core of the body. So in this exercise, I'll be focusing on moving gently from the hips and knees and from the shoulder joints, while my head, shoulders, and pelvis stay still. Starting with the leg slides. Take a breath in to prepare. And breathing out, I slide the left leg out. Breathe in to hold. As I breathe out, keeping the left leg heavy, heel on the floor, I slide the leg back in. The pelvis stays completely still. Next, I'll slide the right leg out and I will add in a floating left arm. So moving arm and leg now. Breathe in to prepare. Breathe out. The arm moves at the same pace as the leg. So as the leg comes to rest, the arm comes to rest as well. Don't extend the arm down to the floor. That would overextend in the shoulder. Keep it at about shoulder level. Breathe in to maintain your position. Breathe out. Slide the leg back in. Aim to keep the standing leg and the pelvis still. So the aim of this exercise is to build strength in your legs and also to help you keep a nice stable spine as you hinge at the hip. We're really looking to practice hinging at the hip, which is a key movement that we use in daily life and will enable you to really get your quads, your thigh muscles working rather than your abdomen and lower back. So get the hip hinge sorted out and you'll be able to protect your abdomen as you're lifting weights and moving on to harder exercises. We're in stable standing, so you're familiar with that by now. Got your weight nicely lined up, the plumb line through your ear, through your shoulder, through the hip, through the ankles. In a moment, we're going to flex at the ankle joint, the knee joint, and the hip joint. Think of it a little bit like an angle poised lamp. You want each of those struts to remain nice and straight while you hinge the hips backwards. So you don't want to bend the back. You want your hips to hinge back and your upper body to tilt forward. I'll demonstrate. And breathe in as you hinge down and breathe out as you come up. I'll show you from the side. Focus on the length of my spine here, and the spine starts right here, right down at the tailbone, and it finishes up right here, just beneath the head. And I'm trying to keep this totally straight, to keep the length of that strut of the angle poised lamp as I squat. Remember the plumb line, you want it to run through your ear, your shoulder, and your hip. So as the hips move back, the upper body tilts forward. My eye line comes down to the floor, keeping the back straight, eyes straighten up. Breathe in, breathe out. Start off with 6 of these and then build up to as many as you like, but take it gently. This next exercise challenges your balance, it works your calves and also your thigh muscles. You'll also need to focus on alignment all the way through. So think about your stable stance and also remember the plumb line that runs through your ear, your shoulder and your hip joint. It's called calf raise into hip hinge, and we're combining 2 exercises. We're combining the calf raise with the hip hinge. So making sure you're standing in a stable position, remembering the line running down through your ear, your shoulder, and your hip. Make sure you have a chair or something similar to your side to help with the balance before you come into a few practice calf raises. So rising up onto the balls of your feet and down onto the heels. Up onto the balls of your feet and down onto your heels. Breathing out, breathing in. Once you've warmed up and you've got the calf raise, and I'll demonstrate this from the side, you're going to add the hip hinge onto the calf raise. Remember the analogy of the angle poised lamp. So as you come into the hip hinge, you're really going to make sure that your spine stays straight. So calf raise, back down onto the heels. Now you're hinging at the hips, upper body tilts forward. Straighten up. Breathe out for calf raise. Breathe in. Breathe out as you hinge the hips back, keep the body straight. And you're done. Start off with 6 of these and build it up to 10 to 12. The next exercise is the knee lift. Right, this exercise is preparing you for an exercise to come called standing on one leg. It also helps to build strength in your legs and really challenges your balance. Remember your stable stance. Don't overdo it, don't grip in the stomach or hold a military posture, but you really do want to imagine that you're standing very straight, very well balanced, with your head being pulled up by a string and a weight at the bottom of your abdomen that just sort of keeps you rooted to the spot as we're moving. It's probably helpful to have a chair or something similar nearby that you can just reach out and touch to help with your balance. As you breathe out, you're simply going to raise the right knee up 90 degrees. So your hip is flexed at 90 degrees and the knee's flexed at 90 degrees as well. You're trying to keep the pelvis completely still. Breathe in, the leg comes down. Keeping the upper body stable, the only place you move is at the hip joint and the knee. Raise the left leg up to 90 degrees on the out-breath and bring it back down to the floor as you breathe in. Start with 6 on each side and build up from there. The next exercise is the hip rolls with the feet up. This exercise builds on the hip rolls with the feet down, and challenges the abdominal more. The aim is to build strength and confidence in moving your abdominals and using your abdominal muscles to control the movement of the legs. For the hip rolls, as you remember, we're in a slightly different position. So we take our arms out wide, palms facing up. To raise the legs, breathe in to prepare. And then with a little bit of core connection, raise the left leg, raise the right leg. And for this exercise, I'm going to pop a ball between my knees and give it a light squeeze. You can use a cushion for this as well. Breathe in. You're activating your core muscles quite strongly now because you're going to be controlling the weight of the legs as you begin to rotate your spine to the right. The movement is exactly the same as the hip rolls feet down, but it's much harder because you're working against gravity. Once you feel your left shoulder begin to lift off the mat, pause, take a breath in. And breathing out, still squeezing the ball. Come back to the center. Try and keep your upper body relaxed and wide. Breathe in to prepare. And breathing out. Pelvis lifts up. The vertebrae in the low back. And a few in the middle back as well. I can feel my right shoulder lifting up, so I pause and breathe in. Breathing out as I rotate out. Breathe in to pause. And breathe out as I rotate back to the center. When you're lowering your legs from this double knee fold position, do it one leg at a time and do it as you breathe out. From here, we're moving straight into spine curl with a leg squeeze. We're bringing our hands to our side and we're going to pop the ball between our knees again. This time our feet will stay on the floor, but we're going to use a nice squeeze on the ball to really get the inner thigh muscles and the deep abdominals activated. Keeping that squeeze on the ball, I'm going to tilt the pelvis and start to peel the spine off the mat. I'm using the squeeze on the ball to keep the legs lined up and help with the core connection. Breathe in at this point. And then breathing out, still squeezing on the ball, I peel back down. So in this exercise, you're mobilizing the spine, activating the glutes and the abdominals. Breathing out as you peel your spine up, pelvis first, and then one vertebrae at a time. Up you come. Once you have a nice straight line from the middle of your chest to your knees, take a breath in. And then breathing out, you peel back down. Take a breath in to prepare. And breathing out, you peel up again. And one vertebrae at a time, melting in the chest first, and the pelvis lands on the mat. Our next exercise is called knee circles. This is a great exercise for activating and exercising the very deep abdominal muscles around the hip, and also freeing up the hip joints and preparing for more challenging exercises to come. You're in the lying position, nice neutral position, looking straight up at the ceiling. Take a breath in to prepare. And as you breathe out, you're going to bring your right knee up above the right hip in a single knee fold. Just become aware for a second of the weight of the thigh bone falling into your hip joint. And then you're going to circle the thigh bone in the hip joint, keeping the leg heavy, keeping your pelvis still, and remembering that your hip joint is a ball and socket joint, so you should be able to achieve a nice, smooth, circular motion. As the head of the thigh bone is moving in the hip joint, obviously the rest of the thigh and the knee will follow that. So your knee will be making a circular shape as well, and this will be roughly the same shape as a football. Half of that shape will be inside your body, half of the shape will be outside of your body. Do 6 to 8 circles in one direction, and then change direction. You're breathing naturally and nice and relaxed all the way through this movement. Focus on a sense of ease in the hip joint and keeping the pelvis very still. 6 to 8 in each direction. If you want, you can slide your hands under your sacrum, and that will give you a little bit more feedback. Basically, you don't want to feel too much movement across your hands. You want your pelvis and low back to remain still as the knee circles. When you've done 6 to 8 in each direction, pause, and as you breathe out, bring that leg down. Repeat on the other side. This exercise is the last in the moving on phase. It's called kneeling push-up. We want to use this exercise to build strength in the upper body, and again to practice the hip hinge, this time in a kneeling position. For kneeling, you want to make sure that the palms of your hands are directly under your shoulder joints. So the weight is falling straight down your arms onto the palms. Your knees are also directly under your hips. So the weight is falling straight down the legs onto the knees. Your feet are stretched out behind you. You're looking at the floor about 2 or 3 feet in front of you, so your neck is slightly stretched. Feel as though a string is pulling your head forwards, and 2 strings are pulling your sit bones back, so your back is nice and long. Do a little pelvic tilt and just pull your navel to your spine, so you're not arched in the low back. Nice and active in the low back, and push the floor away so you're nice and active in the shoulders as well. You're now in a stable kneeling position. Breathe naturally. Next time you take an out breath, hinge from the hip, so it's the same kind of feeling as a squat or a pelvic hinge. Hinging from the hip, your elbows move back at 45 degrees and your head and upper body tilt down. As you breathe in, you push back up. So really focus on keeping the spine straight and controlled. Keep your body weight forwards. You're hinging or pivoting from the hip joint, elbows coming back. As you push down and push back up. You can change the breathing pattern. You can breathe in as you come down and breathe out as you push up. See which works best for you. Keep the navel pulled to spine. Keep the little tilt in the pelvis and focus on a nice straight back. Start off with around 6 of these and see if you can build up to 10. Thank you for taking part in the moving on phase. You should now begin to be feeling more confident in moving your body and be ready to take on some slightly more challenging exercises. So that means you're ready to move on to the progression phase. Please click on the link below and you'll be able to do that.